All right, Leaf Nation, we're off and running during your 2025 Stanley Cup playoffs. Toronto Maple Leafs with a 6-2 victory. Mitch Marner, 3 points. 2 of those points coming off a red-hot power play. And this is your Leaf edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 590 The Fan, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne. Sammy McKee, a very laid-back, relaxed Sammy McKee. Derek Brandale, Jake the Snake Schultz with you for the next 2 hours as we sprint towards a Stanley Cup final. All right, boys. Sammy.
A Stanley Cup final?
I think it just means our show.
The Stanley Cup final.
Our show is.
It's a sprint.
The Leafs hour.
For the show.
Holy smokes.
Right?
I thought you were playing in the parade all of a sudden.
Did I mention that the Leafs are going to the Stanley Cup final, or do I say it's a sprint towards the Stanley Cup final?
Gotcha. Just we're in the Leafs hour, and it's just...
How do you go from, like, this confident to mere 20 minutes before puck drop texting us that you're really nervous?
Weren't you guys nervous?
Yeah, really nervous is not how I would describe myself,
Okay.
but I was just anxious to, like, see what it was going to look like.
That's exactly right. Like, I would say that I've felt more confident this year than in years past. Definitely.
Yeah.
It's clearly a cautious optimism when it comes to the Toronto Maple Leafs. But, yeah, I think 30 minutes before any puck drop for any big playoff series, it's always so funny. Like, if a team goes on a long run and the first game seems so consequential, it's like just such a huge thing. And then if they go on a run, you think back to it's like, who'd they play in the first round? Like it's so inconsequential at the end of it, but the lead up feels so good. So I loved it.
But it did feel differently because this wasn't Toronto, Tampa. It wasn't Toronto, Florida.
Boston.
It was not Toronto, Boston. Mm-hmm. It was a division winner versus a wild card team. It last night played out the way it was supposed to play out.
And that's the most shocking thing of all. Right?
Craig Berube hockey.
No, not shocking. It's the way it should work.
It's the way it should work, but I would say if you followed this team for the last 8 years, and you have, when they're supposed to do things easily, they don't.
I don't know how easily it should have been in the past, though.
Because Columbus better than them? Was Montreal better than them? Up 3-1?
Yeah, pandemic crapola.
Okay, I'm good.
Agreed.
I'm glad
Those
we can
didn't count.
strike those from the record.
Didn't count.
But
Didn't count.
I think there have been other times where we've looked at the Leafs and said, they should have this year. They should be able to handle their business, and they haven't. So if you don't want to call it shocking, I'm fine with calling it
It's
what a
pleasantly surprising.
Yeah,
is that okay for you?
Sure. Just everything, when you were thinking of this as a Leafs fan, and you constructed the worst case scenarios and the best case scenarios. We did that with Luke Fox. That was the best case scenario. Everything you hoped it could be. The Ottawa looks inexperienced and their goaltending struggles. The power play for the Leafs is hot. The core four is good. The goaltending is good. It went exactly best case scenario for the Leafs, which is amazing.
I definitely went into that game thinking there was a potential for that to happen. I believe we had multiple off-air conversations just being like, could they just win 6-2 and just beat them and not have to really sweat this thing out for the first game and going into 2 days of talking about, oh, my God, they lose game one. They did what they were supposed to do in the first game, like you said, as a division winner versus a wild card. But you could also understand if they went the other way, how that would have been expected. So it was a great mental health win for Leafs Nation, to start it off.
If by chance Ottawa... What you're telling me is if Ottawa would have found a way to win last night, it would have been like
panic mode. No question.
Just
and I want to sit here and say that I wouldn't be, but I think all of Leafs Nation would have been full panic mode.
If it's a split, it's still a better split than if you lose game one, win game two for you?
I think that's a good question, actually. I think that's
or is it the same?
I think it's philosophical. No, because if you, I mean, this is a weird conversation to be having today, but if you lose the first one and then are facing the potential of going down 0-2, going to another building versus winning the first one and losing the second one, I think it's a completely different feeling. But we talked about this a bit. The way it'll feel really different is if they follow up last night with another big one on Tuesday going into Ottawa up Tuesday. So
eight playoff runs for this core four era. They've lost the first game one 6 times. They've won it twice. Both times they won it, they went out and lost the next game. 7 of 8 of those years, they've been 1-1 after 2.
All right.
They got the chance to make it different.
All right, before we dive into game 2, let's get Craig Berube's thought and overview of what he saw opening up the Stanley Cup playoffs for his hockey club.
Yeah, physical. We were physical in the first period. I thought they were too. I mean, it's physical and it's going to be physical. And I thought that we did a good job of, controlling our emotions and playing through it. You have to. And so like I said, it's going to be a battle, and it was.
All right, let's talk about that start, because it was physical. There's no question. The Leafs answered the bell, I thought, tremendously. It just felt from the opening puck drop right through to that 5-7 minute mark. The guys were trying to get nice licks on, right against each other.
Yeah. You watched from home last night?
Yeah. Little couple times maybe I saw a little head hunting as well. Just some
from the Leafs?
Both sides. I thought they were taking healthy runs at each other.
For sure.
And I think it may have played into a few calls later on. I really thought that the officials tried to kind of keep them in check and reel them in a little bit.
Yeah.
And I wasn't too thrilled with some of the calls for Ottawa's side. And no question that some of the decisions that they made, particularly Ridley Greig's, was just dumb.
Yeah.
Just a dumb decision to get your stick that high. But outside of that, some of those calls were a little questionable for me.
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know if the Leafs will ever get 6 power plays, no matter if they end up playing for another month and a half or 2 months. I just think it was the officials' way of pulling a few things in.
Yeah, I thought the calls were the calls, and the refs by and large got it right. The one thing to me is that's not that close a hockey game for me. I understand that it is a talking point around this game, but they win by 4, no empty netter. To me, you take away a penalty here or a penalty there. That to me is not.
Well, 3 power plays are a difference maker in the game.
For sure they are. I mean, like I said, if you want to take a goal or 2 off the board because you want to take 2 penalties away from them, that's okay.
Yeah.
I still think
it has a lot to do with momentum and a carry on as well. Like the Stützle on Tanev, the best way I can describe it is if I saw that penalty call in the 4 Nations, I would have had a problem with it.
Okay.
Maybe early in a series,
but we see this every year with the officiating.
No, for sure.
Every first round, the refs are as just as horned up as the players
only
are.
to game 4 or so.
But we see this every single year, and I know that the refs are a talking point, but the Ottawa Senators were not prepared for the playoff officiating. They were not prepared. They were taking stupid penalties.
They were
undisciplined, and they took penalties. They did them, and they got called. Yeah. Sure, Leafs got a good whistle. I won't sit here and disagree, but they did a bunch of dumb stuff that got penalized.
As advertised, young and inexperienced, and it completely showed.
And I would say, how nice for the Leafs that when someone opens the door for you, they stepped through. This was not a Boston series last year where they go 1 for 21. They go 3 for 6. So, triple their playoff output last year in a single game. And I think that's a good sign for them going forward, that if Ottawa becomes wary of this power play and says, hey, they can burn us, we got to be a little bit more careful. Maybe that creates a little bit of room at 5-on-5, and that's to the credit of the success the Leafs had last night.
All right, let's get Craig Berube's thoughts on the officiating.
Good 5.
Penalties are penalties. Like I said, we're disciplined. We're going to keep being disciplined. We're going to play hard between the whistles the right way and keep being physical, but we're not going to get involved in all the antics after the whistles or whatever. Listen, that's, refs call games, they call penalties for whatever reasons. I mean, I thought we checked well with our feet and our sticks tonight. We were hard at our net, doing things right to stay out of the box. You put yourself in the penalty box when you get on the wrong side of things and have to make desperate situations. And like I said, we're pretty clean overall with our physicality part of the game, and we got to keep doing that.
Yeah,
and that is experience talking right there.
I mentioned this last night on Leafs Talk. I'll say it to you. It looked like the Sens were a team playing what they thought playoff hockey was versus the Leafs playing actual playoff hockey, where
I really like that.
Stützle's running around like, he's
pointed out last night he had 9 hits last night. It's like,
he's looking
not
like
what we need out of you.
You're not Mike Pekka, buddy. Like, you don't need to run around like you're chicken with your head cut off out there.
Appreciate
it felt like there was guys in the Sens that were playing out of character because they were playing what they thought playoff hockey was, and they were just undisciplined. Like, outside of the Stützle one, which, sure, you can quibble with it.
Yeah.
He caught him in the numbers, pushed him towards the glass. I can understand why they called it. Was there more of them that you didn't like? Like, I thought they were all penalties.
I thought the 5-on-3 was a little suspect, the shove on Matthews. To go 5-on-3, yeah. To go 5-on-3, I'm sorry.
You're looking to zag here. Like, that's a cross check in the back into the glass.
This is Stanley Cup playoffs, bud, okay?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but, like, not for me. Not for me this time of year to go 5-on-3, 4-on-3, yes, but 5-on-3.
So
not enough. But that's okay. If that's the way you want to start out early, maybe send a message. I'm okay. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3. You want to get into Game 5, 6, and 7 throughout the playoffs for me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to see something a little bit more vicious than that to go 5-on-3.
As a team, you can control what you can control. And I thought that Matthews one's actually a great example of a guy who is trying to hang on to the puck and maintains possession, and he's coming up with the puck. It's not like a lay it out, trying to draw a call sort of thing. So if they call that, great, and then they go ahead and bury one right away.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of controlling their end of it, I mean, full marks for the Leafs on that.
Oh, listen, and they're world class. We know it. And if Ottawa wants to even, it's the putting yourself in a position to do it that often is your biggest culprit. Not whether or not the official actually calls it or not or lets it slip. That's a 50-50 sometimes, but Ottawa put themselves in positions where they just...
For sure. You leave it up to the discretion of the ref.
You just didn't have to maybe go that extra mile, and they did, and that's, in many ways, inexperience.
What I like about a lot of this is the way this sets up Ottawa to be like, okay, we need to be aggressive, but we can't be too aggressive. Like, it's all, we talk about an inexperienced team, and now it's like they're getting lectured for that was too much. Like, they're really going into Game 2 now, like trying to feel things out a little bit. And I like that there's a lot of reasons I think Ottawa would have challenges with the way that game went. Are we sure we can trust our goaltending? Are we sure that we're able to be physical? How much pressure can we put? Like, they're in a weirder spot now.
While we're still on a roll on this, you want to just get the cross-check out of the way?
What? Oh, well, get it out of the way. Everybody wants to get it out of the way. It doesn't get mentioned. It's like a ghost in the night. Like,
it's actually
this is cross-checking.
One of the dirtiest guys in the league hammers one of the least best players with a targeted cross-check to the throat. Doesn't get mentioned on the broadcast. Doesn't get mentioned by the league. Doesn't get mentioned. It's like a ghost. If the situation was reversed and John Tavares cross-checked Ridley Greig, the first thing we would come, how many games is it going to be for John Tavares? How many games? Like, that's all anyone would talk about. It's a cross-check in the mouth.
I don't think
it's the exact same thing Matthews did to Darlene. Exactly the same play. Worse. Bang!
I think it was
downhill in the mouth.
Little Morgan Riley.
Yeah.
Right?
How many games did he get for that? Let me check. 1, 2, 3, 5?
5.
And we don't even mention it.
I would say
that was a piss poor call on Morgan Riley.
You thought that was too much?
Oh, my God.
Buddy, go back and watch it. He greased him good.
He earned all 5. All 100%. He chased.
It was too severe.
So either way, I thought Greig last night, he cross-checks a guy in the head, trying to cross-check him in the head. I'd be fine with that being a game. I didn't like it. At least a major.
Okay, but
anyway.
Or mentioned by someone the next day, like, oh, he's got to get a fine.
$5,000.
Or like a hearing.
A fine. I'll give you a fine of $5,000 for sure.
Can somebody from the league acknowledge that one of the dirtiest guys in the league cross-checks someone in the mouth, or we don't get to do that?
All right, let's get Craig Berube's thought. Clip 6 on the cross-check.
How surprised were you to see the cross-check on Tavares get reduced down to a minor?
That's not my call. It's not my call. That's not my call. I mean, the referees and the league will look at things and make the calls they make. We're not going to focus on that. We got to focus on what we need to do the next game, okay? It's the same as I thought they made some attempts at our goalie and sliding into him and things like that, but that's not for us to worry about. We got to focus on playing, and we got to focus on ourselves and what we need to do. The league will look after that stuff.
God, that's good coaching.
It's great.
That's so good.
It's great. I'm okay with a 2-minute minor. I am, because I'll tell you why. Because
so he can stay in the game and run the goalie and score a goal. Is that why?
Between now and what you hope might be 6 or 8 weeks for the Toronto Maple Leafs, someone's going to do something in that family, and you want the same standard. Mm-hmm. And I would be the first one to tuck that episode in my back pocket when I need it, because there will be a Maple Leaf, someone, Max. Nice.
There's a period after it.
Somebody will be flirting in that regard, and I just want the same standard.
Yeah, you're going to have a phone call, and you're going to go, I'm sorry. If he's not getting one, we're not getting one.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We're fine. Let the guys play.
All right, put it in
Sammy.
the pocket.
Let them
Put it in your
play.
pocket. Carry it around
You're
with you.
painting me into Johnny Etobicoke corner here.
Let them play,
Like,
Sammy.
you're
This
making me-
is a man's game
Let's get
right
back
now.
to the hockey
It's
game.
game one.
Come
of-
on.
It's
Let's
game,
talk about the hockey
It's
game.
game one of the playoffs, and I'm already in
Let's
full
go.
homer mode. But I would love to believe that's the case. But the history of the suspensions with the Toronto Maple Leafs, that was not be the case.
Let's get Travis Green on the penalties. You want to hear what his opinion
Yes.
was?
Yes.
Okay, let's talk clip 2, Greener.
Play the
We definitely have
crying
to stay in
baby.
the box. I'll say that. At the end of the game, sometimes things are going to get a little out of hand once in a while. I thought there was a couple calls that they did a good job selling, but it's tough. It's tough on the refs. But we can't take that many penalties for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
He knows.
Well, yeah. It's and should we also do his overview while we're on Green, or do we want to stick with the penalties?
for sure.
No, he's got some good
Let's
ones.
get clip
I
1.
thought maybe the first 5 minutes, 10 minutes, we were a little nervous, which is probably to be expected. Got a lot of guys that haven't played in the playoffs. But 5-on-5, I liked our game.
I think there's a lot of people.
You think he's overselling 5-on-5?
I think if you're a Leafs fan, it's delightful to hear. I think you love hearing what used to be you on the other side going, we controlled the deserve to win-o-meter. The Leafs lead that game by 2+ goals for 40+ minutes.
Yeah.
They're not pushing. So whatever the numbers say at that point to me is, and that's something a good analytics person would dip through and go, okay, well, we can't trust this score effects.
Yeah.
We played a different sort of game. So yes, I thought they controlled more of the play than the Leafs after the first period, but the Leafs were playing for something different, protecting a lead. So go ahead, have your 5-on-5 trophy.
Which they have been very good at. Right?
They're
They're
the
built.
other team having the puck.
They're built for protecting leads, especially in the third. They've been real solid in that capacity, and it's led by Stolarz.
Yeah.
It is funny. I recognize that. The Ottawa Senators fans on my Twitter, I recognize pulling up the charts and pulling up the referee stuff. That's used to be me. I did that. I've done that for 8 years. Be like, oh, well, they deserve to win. Oh, they have the puck more. They have more shots. It's like, doesn't always translate. Mm-hmm. And it feels like they're going to be doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
Where the Leafs have played like this all year, where they've had the puck less. They've played like this. It looked a lot like a lot of regular season games.
At the end of the day, the Leafs have more guys who can score, who can shoot it into the net than Ottawa does. And so they're going to get less or need less opportunities. And so for Ottawa, that's the big ask is, can you sneak a few by a goaltender who, didn't give him any freebies last night?
And that wasn't the case last night on Anthony Stolarz. Let's get Craig Berube's thought on his number one goalie.
Well, he had to make some huge saves, I thought. In the second period, after we had the 5-on-3, they had 3 really good opportunities after that. When it became 5-on-5, he made big saves. Thought he was solid. very solid tonight.
Hey, one guy scores on a breakaway and the other guy doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
That's 2-2
Yep.
with Brady Tkachuk. And that save, who knows what it would have felt like at 2-2 at
And
that
then
point.
right after the breakaway, I think Pinto gets one on the back door that he hangs on to.
Clear in the slot all day long.
Yeah, and then Stützle gets another one in the period where he gets the butt end of it. Like, there were some real saves to keep it from becoming a much closer, scarier game.
Yeah.
And then, Leafs go down, handle their business, shoot another one in, and then it kind of
Has been a
iced it.
similar look for multiple games all season long.
Yeah.
And it's just a reality now that we're expecting those saves now out of Stolarz. And if I only had one knock against him, outside of the first goal with the rebound, there was a couple other rebounds that he needs to tighten up on, but it didn't really matter last night because he made those saves that frustrate the crap out of an opposition.
Clutch.
Well, and,
Clutch saves.
Yeah, and that starts to wear on shooters, and guys when they can't break through and they feel like you need the perfect shot. And there's sometimes you can see his size come into it. I think Batherson hit his shoulder, came down to his shoulder, posted out, and it's like if he's not 6'7", if he's 6'5", it's a goal. But he is 6'7", and he uses that body extremely well.
On the Pinto one, he just literally was shooting at a brick wall.
There was no
he just came out aggressive, and he's huge. There's no space. There was just nothing. He shoots it right into
There's
his
no holes.
right in his breadbasket because there's just nothing to shoot at. So he was excellent. But I agree. There's a couple greasy rebounds here and there that he has to clean up. But for the most part, I thought he was pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
And then on the other side,
Oh boy,
we've seen a couple of stretches during the regular season where Ullmark was all world.
Yep.
Right? I think there was one at Christmas where I think he went 7-0 with a 963 save percentage. It was scary.
In the year, there's another.
And then there was another one in March.
Yeah.
And then he was not very good to finish the season.
Mm-hmm.
And last night, they're done. They're done in 4 games if this guy does not step up. Oh, but he was horrible. They're down 2-0 on 4 shots.
Yeah.
They're chasing.
And that probably doesn't count the yarn croc off the post that spun on the goal line.
You're going nowhere if this guy doesn't step up.
For sure. But I'm 4 games would never say that. But the Leafs, if he plays like that, the Leafs should win the series. But he was a big reason why they lost last night. Maybe
I
the
actually
reason.
would go as far to say with Ullmark last night, he didn't let any muffins in, but he just didn't give him the save. This kind of it doesn't kiss the post.
That's the Oliver Ekman-Larsson. You got to get a piece of that.
Yeah.
That cannot beat you clean.
But it is one of those ones, Kip, where it's a shot uncontested from between the hash marks. It's a good scoring spot. But I agree, he doesn't get a piece of it. The other one is
this one. He had no chance on Matthew Nyes. Marner's move will beat 99% of any goalie on the planet.
not on the hook for that one.
That one.
And Willie off the face-off. You might want him to get a piece of that
piece.
too. Yeah.
Just not clean.
Just need a save.
Just get a piece of it. He's coming out. He's a shooter. Be big.
Yeah.
Just be big.
I think that one, Matthews being cocked, probably has him am I pushing
Matthews.
or...
He was
looking for that one.
He was tickling the rafters.
Yeah, he was.
That's Decoy City.
He was. Do you have any Ullmark sound?
We have 2 clips on the goaltending. We have one from the coach, which is a hilarious exchange with a reporter. I'm not sure who it was. Let's play the Travis Green clip 3 on Ullmark.
Is it a little disheartening to have to work as hard as you did to generate the chances that you generated, and then sort of see it be a little leaky on the other side?
What are you saying?
In the room is your goaltending, I think.
I like our goaltending. I like our goalie a lot. He's a good goalie. He's one of Vesna's. Pretty good. There's no elephant in the room, in our room.
That's great by Green, right? He's got to go out there and throw himself on that grenade.
And then
This is uncomfortable.
and then play the Ullmark clip in there, Derek.
How did you feel about your game tonight?
Yeah, it's all right. There's some things. There's some, there's a high skill team on the other side, and like I said, we're just gonna have to refocus on the next one. It's just one game. That's the beauty of it. Doesn't matter how you play one game and you lose it. You can lose 1-0. It's still gonna be a loss. So it's just have a mind of a goldfish. Go out there and play a game 2, and a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. Know what's gonna happen, how it's gonna be, and how intense it's gonna be, and then try to do same thing again.
Light and fluffy.
I really don't want the Sens fans to be printing the mind of a goldfish T-shirt where he turns it around after that game. But
he would kind of drive me crazy if I had him as a teammate.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Didn't like that clip.
Okay, it's just okay. The goldfish part, it's fine as long as you're not my goldfish curled up at the top of the surface and I got to flush you down the toilet. Okay. First, let's start there.
Yeah.
Just don't end up being curled up at the end of the series. That's all. All right?
Yeah.
And number 2, I'm not saying that you got to be hard on yourself. And I'm not saying, and we experienced that, through our covering the Leafs over the years with Jack Campbell and Samsonov, where it's like, buddy, don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
But it's okay to say,
look, I've got
5
better.
simple words. I need to be better.
Yeah.
It's okay to treat it like you just finished a walk in the park and it doesn't really matter. And it's like, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
From the Ottawa Senator players, I don't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely something between what we just listened to and Jack Campbell that you could maybe find the happy medium a little bit on.
Right.
Like his tone
Just
there is
something.
a little too bubbly after the way he played.
Just take a little bit more ownership, bud. You gave up 2 goals on 4 shots.
Yeah.
Come on.
Mm-hmm. And the building was rocking. Give them credit. That first one goes in, and I don't know, the Leafs tweeted out a video from one of the, I don't know what angle they have. Their social media is just out of control, how good their angles and all the camera stuff. But there's one that's just like in the crowd, sort of on the normal shot. And when that Oliver Ekman-Larsson goal goes in, boy, that is a real Montreal-esque crowd pop.
Yeah.
So hopefully that crowd keeps going like that, because that was a really good one last night. Congrats to Leaf fans for actually being there.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of suits.
No, it was great. I think a lot of the Leafs offense last night, one guy probably not getting enough credit, Matthew Nyes, I thought was chaotic around the net. And that OEL goal, if you watch that one, it's actually Lawton makes the play, but it's Lorentz who drags the D with him and creates room. There's the Nyes creates some room on a couple of their goals. Just they had someone at the net to create space. The Tavares goal.
Nyes needs to be a handful in front of the net. We saw his power play goal. I didn't think it was a standout game for Matthew Nyes at any stretch. But then you look at Matthews and Marner, and Marner ends up with 3 points, but 2 of them are on the power play. And, where are you on their 5-on-5 play overall? The one thing, and I've stressed this with Marner, but, and I'll include Austin Matthews in it as well, is that, there are many face-offs.
Yeah.
They're starting in their own zone.
Mm-hmm.
They're not getting as many offensive zone draws as Tavares, and that's explainable.
That's use the guys.
You don't want Tavares to skate 200 feet to get to the net.
They're way better defensively,
and they are very good defensively.
They get
sometimes
leaned on.
Yes, and sometimes people are all over him because the offense isn't there, or they've got to skate 200 feet.
Mm-hmm.
And Nate McKinnon doesn't do defensive zone faceoffs.
No, it's heavy lift for sure.
Winnipeg's Mark Scheifele, probably very dominant in the offensive zone faceoffs. He's got Lowry to take those big draws, but Matthews and Marner are leaned on heavily in the defensive zone, and it matters on the offense.
Of course, and this is a good example. Wonderful play here.
Great pass.
But that does come out off a D zone faceoff. Actually, they're in the D zone. This is actually a really interesting play because Marner went low and covered for Matthews, played D on this shift, and he calls for a switch. Matthews is actually in the midst of switching back to playing center when he catches that puck and makes that pass. So he knows exactly where Marner's going in the line he's on. That's why he's able to make that play so quick, and Marner's able to pull away the way he was. Yeah. great communication, great D-zone play. Last night on Leafs
They were
Talk,
brilliant in their dome.
they were really
zone.
good. There's one with like 10 minutes left. We clip. Marner goes bit down, puts a body on someone, wins a puck. They get out. Matthews pokes Stützle in the slot. Like, I understand it's a big lift. They're good at it.
And let's make no mistake about it. It was Matthews shutting down Stützle. It wasn't the other way around last night in game 1.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing it on purpose. Like, they're actually using those guys like they would a Barkov or a...
And I don't mind it at all.
Mm-hmm.
And is it going to cost Matthews maybe goals and chances and ultimately points? Yes. But I've been on this for a lot of years.
Sure.
Like, to me, he's always looked like a winger.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's starting to look like a real centerman for the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Okay.
And has it cost him offense? Yes. But he's acting now like a number one centerman, in my opinion. And lo and behold, he can pass a puck.
I know people are trotting out the shot attempts when their line was on the ice at 5-on-5. I think either 6-4 and 22 against, or say it was really lopsided. But again,
Really?
yeah. But in the first period, when they're playing 5-on-5, it's pretty darn good. They go up 2-0, 7 minutes into the period or something like that. It just changes. They're playing a top line. They're packing it in. They're not taking chances. Yes, it can be better. Yes, it should be better. But I'm not that stressed out about that game.
I'm not either. In many ways, I like Matthews' game better than I have in a long, long time.
And it's funny too, because I feel it's funny because we're on the opposite sides, where I feel better about Marner's game, where I felt like he was active and pushing the pace, and I just
Starting to take. How many times have we seen him on breakaways lately? Right before it was never.
Yeah.
It was always Nylander kind of
Breakaway.
sniffing.
Yeah.
And now they got a little unpredictability.
Nyes helps him in a lot of ways. I agree that Nyes wasn't fantastic, but he was good enough.
So, but to your defensive zone draw thing, there's not. You hope that this Lawton, Lorentz, Yarncroc
wanted to get
line
to that.
can look like it did last night for a stretch of games where you can start to trust them a little bit more in the defensive zone. Because there was a couple times, like I don't know at what point of the game, it was in the third, where the third, or Robertson and had to end up taking a defensive zone draw because they had Domi, Robertson, and it was Holmberg they had out there. But it's like that's a third period defensive zone draw line in the playoffs. Like you're worried about that a little bit. So if Lawton can continue to grow, it's just there's not a ton of options for them, Kip. They have.
No,
if you're the coach,
there
well,
is.
who the hell are you going to send out there?
But
It's
the
probably
line-
going to be the two elite forwards that can win a draw and get the puck out for you.
It used to be Camp.
You know.
Yeah, and that's at the end of the day, he's not going to trust Lawton out there against
No.
Tkachuk, Stützle, and Claude Giroux or Batherson. I don't think, anyways. He's going to want his best out there.
It is interesting, though. So Scott Lawton joined March 8th, and he never played 15 minutes in a game until April 13th. And then he played 15 minutes again, April 20th.
Yeah.
And then last night he plays 15 and a
Yeah.
half or almost 16.
Yeah.
He was sixth. There was the top five forwards that you know who they are. And then it was Lawton last night.
A big thing for them, too, last night. It wasn't overly taxing. They never chased Ottawa on the scoreboard. They went up 4-1. You could roll lines.
No D played 20.
You're munching minutes at that point.
Sanderson played 27.
It's a perfect night for Toronto, not leaning heavily on anybody in particular.
Yeah.
But that's what a 4-1 lead does for you.
For sure. There's a lot of being on the other side of this, where you look at that side, and Cleven and Matson-Paulo both played 11 and change. And Shabbat and Sanderson played 26 and change. And it's like, it's not how you want it to look.
No.
Anyway, we should...
Okay, let's take a quick break. Plenty more to dissect out of this game one as well. Sammy, why are you looking at me with puppy dog eyes?
No, I'm just sitting here.
Okay. All right, we're good. We're good.
This is how I look, buddy.
I know that smile anywhere. All right, plenty more when we return on the Leafs, Ottawa, game one. Welcome back to the Real Kyper and Bourne Show, Leaf Hour edition of our program. Our very own Elliot Friedman is reporting that the Seattle Kraken are making a coaching change. We'll get more into that in our national hour.
Do we have
hot
to?
Kraken info.
But
Do we have to?
Yeah,
Okay.
we're NHL national show.
I know, there's
although
lots- I
your
mean, there's so
love
many-
affair for the Leafs.
Well, we could do a great show in our national hour on stuff that's happening not in the playoffs.
Truly.
Like the Red Wings captain buried Steve Yzerman in the press. Jim Rutherford's tampering. Like we could have do a whole hour on stuff.
Let's go.
Honestly.
Seriously.
Yeah. Screw the playoffs.
What a news day.
Drama.
It's huge. It's an absolute huge news day.
But it's Leaf time.
Yeah.
But it's Leaf time. Where do you want to go on the Ottawa Senators?
It's, every playoff series has a few key characters, and we're really shaping up for Ridley Greig to be a real factor here.
I enjoyed his whoopsie fall into Stolarz, which looked like it hurt the goalie. And by enjoyed, I mean, like, he knows what he's doing. Smart.
What were the Leafs up? Were they up 5-2 at that point?
Put the shoulder down on Marner and tried to cut in.
As soon as he dropped the shoulder, if I'm Marner, I'm like, pull the shoot. Get out of the way, let him cut across the net.
Have one.
The first thing I said is I don't know if he's going to get up.
It was a bad one.
Yeah.
It was
Jammed his knee
really
against the post.
sneaky, dirty.
Yeah.
I don't think it was sneaky at all. Like, he's a good skater. There was no
No,
stick.
he
was
hit
no
it
one.
well. You can disguise.
well.
You can disguise it well. Cutting into the goalie
You
like
can't
that.
prove he did that on purpose.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Sorry, not sorry.
Who is disguising that he did that on purpose? He did.
He did.
No, he didn't. He did that on purpose. He obviously
We
did that on
agree.
purpose.
He
I'm
did it on
telling you,
purpose.
we know that.
Yeah, but he didn't
But we're
hide it
telling
from
you,
anyone. You're
He's
telling
allowed to try to drive the
You
net.
can
He
drive to
claim
the
he's
net,
making
buddy.
a play there.
You can lose an edge and go hard into a goalie.
For sure.
It's a hockey play.
I agree.
But your point that Marner could have been like, red carpet,
Yeah.
go ahead and have the shot might have been the only thing to do because otherwise,
You want him suspended for that too?
No, but I wouldn't mind us cross-checking the jibs to be a suspension. But, he scores a goal in this game, and he's made it to Leafs practice. All the Leafs reporters are asking, they asked Nyes about him. They asked Berube about him. We could play the clip. Let's play
Clip 8.
Yeah, Berube on
Ridley.
On Ridley.
It's annoying seeing Greig, the cross-check to Tavares, the slide into Stolarz. What's the key to dealing with this guy? Because the guys are going to want to retaliate as this goes on.
Are they?
Human nature. Maybe they won't. Maybe they won't.
Well, no, and you're right. That's listen, that's part of playoff hockey. I mean, that stuff's going to happen, and you gotta be disciplined as best you can, and going to keep preaching it. The league, the referees, they'll take care of that stuff. That's your job.
And let's carry it on to a player. Let's get Matthew Nye's thoughts there. Nye's clip 1.
And Greig then slides into Anthony at the end, maybe accidentally on purpose. What's the key to dealing with this guy? Because you're going to want to retaliate, of course.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely annoying. I think we're going to play hard on him and not make it easy for him, the rest of the way.
That's simple.
I hate this guy.
That is a good answer, isn't it? Yeah, he's annoying.
This is all off of Craig Berube and what he's preached all year. And it's think about if you're the league right now who has to handle all the crap, right, on any given night of a series, and these guys get calls from general managers to owners after every
much does that happen?
game.
Really?
All the time.
Really?
All the time. Okay? And now you're the league and you're listening to Craig Berube and some of the players and let the league look after. Like, that's what you want to hear from a league. And you can't tell me that it's like getting good behavior points.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
This should help them at some
you
point.
stock up enough and you hope that it comes back to you one day.
You know what's funny?
Or one game.
Is like you can see what Ridley Greig is trying to do and what he is, and he's an effective player, but he's not Matthew Tkachuk, right? Matthew Tkachuk's like the top tier of what Ridley Greig wants to be.
Yeah.
And Greig's not quite there. He doesn't quite have the juice. They're going to need more from Brady Tkachuk, who I don't think he'll go all series like this, but I thought he had a quiet night. Everyone was telling us how he was going to decapitate someone, and the whole series, he's the best player in the series, I heard people say.
You did?
Oh, yeah, I did. Mental thing to say. But even if you think he was going to be the difference maker for Ottawa, quiet night for him, I thought.
Very much so.
Yeah, I don't know if he's like he cannot carry himself like a true game-breaking kind of guy with ultimate skill. Like, he's going to run over you, man.
Right.
He's going to get to the net. He's going to hurt you. But I don't know in terms of and the breakaway too. Like the breakaway, like think about Mitch Marner's move and think about Brady Tkachuk's move and how kind of that skill set just can't get to that same spot.
And that essentially is the point I made in the first half of the show about what separates these teams.
So how much of a factor can he be in ultimately changing the course of a game other than like going through you?
Yeah. And he threw some hits. He didn't say he played bad. He just wasn't.
He was great at Four Nations, but like a lot of things have to go right for him to shine with his skill.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the case last night.
No, he's going to score. Like, the puck's going to fall on his stick. He's going to be around the blue paint. He's going to knock guys over. But it doesn't feel like the series is obsessing over him the way I thought that maybe it would. It's just been one game, but that's an early returns on that. I thought Oliver Ekman-Larsson was really good last night. I don't know where he was in terms of overall D, but he's got that grease, that he's jawing at guys. They're annoyed at him.
I think his experience last year in Florida has really helped him understand this time of year.
How about Stolarz, Lorentz, and OEL were all great last night.
Yeah.
3 Stanley Cup champs.
Yeah.
And he played, I think he played just under or just over 17 minutes, which if you're drawing up how much Oliver Ekman-Larsson's going to play in a playoff game, you wanted it right around there. Because I think you go back to when they won last year, I think he was around 15, 16 a night during that playoff run. That's, for me, a sweet spot for him.
Yeah.
And he shoots it in the net. It's a big goal. You probably want it from Ullmark a little bit, but he's not afraid to mix it up. He trips Stützle on the cut to the net, flies through the net. Flies through the air like a trapeze artist. I don't know if that's a thing, but looks like he was.
Sounds right.
He dove through the air. But he was good. He has that right amount of grease.
Only a couple guys on the Leafs that I didn't think had great nights. The other D, Riley, I didn't think was. I know everyone.
Well, the giveaway was a tough one. That would have been really tough on Morgan if Brady would have scored.
Yeah, that makes it 2-2. I just thought he was okay. Some tough gaps for me where he's too deep.
Even the first goal there. I mean, he's got to play
a stick
tighter, harder. Just a little too soft in front.
Well, it's
on a loose rebound.
I was actually thinking if that's almost any other of the Leafs D, I don't think it's a goal. Whether Benoit, Tanev, Carlo, whoever, they're just harder in front of the net. So at least he got one. Hopefully he gets feeling good about himself. And then Holmberg went up and played with Tavares and Nylander once the lead was more comfortable.
Stayed there at practice today.
He did?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say, I think that's going to be a thing he goes to more.
You're not expecting any changes for game 2, are you?
Well, there is the line change that Holmberg's up, Domi's back with the...
No, I'm talking about personnel.
Like, how long do you want to keep Kampf out, who, pretty effective guy? But that fourth line, who you're not taking out Lawton, Lorentz, or Yarncroc. Yarncroc.
I'm looking at Ottawa's fourth line, and I'm like, they can't do what Leafs' fourth line is doing right now.
Yeah, they had Highmore in over Cousins, which I didn't think was a good call. Not nearly as impactful. Wasn't great on the PK where he's supposed to be good.
I wonder if it was more maybe his knee.
Cousins.
Yes.
Oh, that would be preferred for the Leafs.
Then it was a coach's decision. I'm wondering if it was more health related because he did miss close to the back half of the season with a knee injury.
Right.
Maybe he's having a few issues there. Maybe another day of rest.
If I'm in Ottawa and the part of the coaching staff, I don't know if you have an undisciplined game where you take a bunch of stupid penalties and it ends up costing you, that your dice move should be inserting another guy.
Cousins.
That's could potentially do that. So it might have actually hurt his chances to play in game 2 the way that one played out. But usually after a loss, coaches are pretty quick to make a lineup change. So I wouldn't be surprised to see him. But if it's injury related, you'd get that too.
Do you want to hear Berube on moving Max down to the third line, playing center?
Yeah.
Do that. Clip 7 from Berube, please.
Not much. He just, Max good about playing wherever. Wing, center. He's done both all season, and it's an easy switch for him, I mean, it's not that much of a conversation, to be honest with you. He's good with whatever we need.
Well, all right then.
Just one last thought too, and not that all the shenanigans had anything to do with anything at the end of the game, but it is a nice look for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and one that's been missing over the course of the last 8 playoff rounds. And has nothing to do with anything, and it's just a lot of goofy message sending for the next game. But
it's great.
Damn it, is it not a good look there?
It's great.
And led by Max, right?
Honestly, having the last minute take 10 minutes is what every close first-round playoff game should look like.
And it was going to take that long. It's nice that you got guys on the ice there that are pretty comfortable in that situation. Appreciate Robertson doing his best, but McMahon's a big guy, Benoit, Carlo's big. Domi throws a couple.
Oh, he got a nice uppercut in.
He did.
Right?
Ottawa, you could see in the last 10, trying to, extract that pound of flesh. There's a couple of hits by Clevin. They're bigger guys that were chasing.
Oh, yeah.
And, nice that they were able to have. It's great having Max in those moments for sure.
This is just the best. And you want this to be like this. You want the Battle of Ontario. I watched hype videos for 3 straight days about Tucker and Travis Green, by the way, jumping into the Sens bench and those battles and Chris Neal. You want it to look like this. You want these teams to hate each other. That's the whole point.
Yeah. It's the look. And that's why I'm kind of weary about sometimes, some of these penalties, and just let the guys go. The Leafs are in better position than they ever have been, in the last 8 years to kind of handle this and work around it. And this is the passion and the emotion that people want to see.
Yeah.
Don't over officiate here.
Let them play.
Let them play.
I mean, they over officiated and it still happened. So if they want to give the Leafs 6 power plays every game, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I know.
But
we
McKee,
know.
by the way, is speaking of guys you like having in those scrums, because he's not a bluffer.
No, but it's really, really good to have it start like that, just with the grease. And I'm sure Ottawa fans wouldn't love it, but
yeah,
they're upset.
For the next game, I do feel like for Ottawa, do they need to make changes? Can they convince themselves that, 5-on-5, it was pretty good. If we don't take those penalties,
yeah,
we're all right.
I think they can.
They can convince themselves that. And do you think they're right to do that?
I think they can play well enough to keep it close here. At 4-1, there's just the game's over. I'm sorry, but with Stolarz, the game is locked.
Yeah, when it went 4-1,
if they can, I think they're good enough to keep games close here, and then you just see where Ullmark is.
I predicted Sens in 7. I think you guys did Sens in. Oh, sorry, I did Sens Leafs in 7.
I did 6.
I did Leafs in 7.
I do think. I still get the feeling that this is going to be a long series. They had moments where they played really, really well.
Ottawa going to get a game here or there for sure.
But let me tell you.
Yeah. Who's Ottawa's best player last night? I'll tell you in 2 seconds.
Drake Batherson.
Yeah.
Yeah,
boy.
yeah, absolutely.
He was
good.
Yeah, he was good.
Noticeable.
He was good. Even when Morgan scored, what was the score? 5-2 then?
That made it 5-2. Yeah.
And then a minute later, he's coming off a post and seems to have the far side wide open, and then Stolar's left leg comes out and just shuts it right down.
Batherson and Pinto, bright spots for them. Greig, too.
If the Leafs get the game tomorrow night, potentially, that game 3 in Ottawa.
On our show tomorrow.
But we got 2 seconds here. A lot of Leaf fans, that could be a nightmare night for Sens fans.
Oh, boy.
All right, just like that. 1 hour done. 1 still to go as we go national. Luc Robitaille, Hockey Hall of Famer, president of the LA Kings, will help us tee up the Kings versus the Oilers. Right. And then John-Michael Liles, a former Toronto Maple Leafs, will give us his thoughts on Landeskog potentially in for Game 2. Plenty more, including news out of Seattle, coming up when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. We are clear and ready to roll on the national hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary, and live and in color on Sportsnet.
It's just funny.
What are you guys looking at?
It's just funny. He never remembers the jersey till 5:01.
Were you guys just playing the song? I wasn't listening.
See, I was reading and I missed that.
I screwed up.
Go.
Okay.
Go, please.
We don't even have.
Go. We'll cover you.
Do we got an Oil
just
jersey?
go and we'll talk amongst ourselves here.
All right. We need an Oilers jersey,
Just
a Canadiens jersey.
can I ask you something?
Yeah, please.
What is wrong with him?
Dude,
That he can't remember a stinking jersey on the national hour.
His friends playing St. Andrews. They won the lottery. He was all caught up in a thing.
He's the producer.
Yeah.
Produce, for God's sakes.
Is this really production? There you go. Fan 590 day.
Okay.
My bad.
This is our first Stanley Cup show, and that's the jersey you pick.
Oh, would you like me to put up? What would you like me to put up? A baby Oilers jersey for Luc Robitaille, who's coming on playing them for the fourth straight year?
That is tough.
Would you like me to put up a Don Waddell jersey in the playoffs? We don't have great options here.
I wouldn't dry my car with that thing, okay? It is horrible.
Listen,
all right?
It's not great, okay?
It's not the sham wow.
This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. I bet they're regretting that right now. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Luc Robitaille from the LA Kings as they prepare for their series against the Edmonton Oilers. Just prior to that, I know Elliot Friedman put something out about Dan Bylsma. I can confirm that Bylsma is out. Ronnie Francis will be elevated to president. I can confirm that the next general manager of the Seattle Kraken will be Jason Botterill.
Wow, cool
And
news. Way to go.
I will confirm that an official announcement is expected tomorrow.
Jason Botterill, the GM of your Seattle Kraken.
Wow, that's what you wanted to talk about. A little scoopage.
Hey,
yeah.
Good one.
Nice
Good
job.
one.
I heard some things.
The president move's interesting, eh? That's like it's such a dual role now. It's almost like I'm now the GM, but with longevity. You know, like you're a little more protected, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's funny, like even here in Rutherford today.
Well, he's not going anywhere, right? Ron Francis still, I think, if I'm not mistaken, probably has a year or two left on his contract. It's for significant money. He's considered a very respected guy. They did make some trades and some moves that at least they're hoping to get in the right direction. But this hiring of Dan Bylsma, like when nobody else was ever mentioned that he was in the running for, it seemed really out of left field.
Yeah.
And that coaching staff, I'm sorry, just did not get the job done.
No, that was disappointing.
Was he? But he was the coach of their AHL affiliate, and they tried to do like bring him up through the system with the players playing the system move. Yeah.
Yes. And it didn't work.
Didn't work. Hopefully they can become relevant.
They had maybe the least possibly relevant season of a team that's 2-3 years in the league.
Yep.
Okay, we'll wait for Luke. In the meantime, there's a ton of news going around the National Hockey League, and depending on when we get Luke available, but including in that is a lot of post-season comments coming out of Vancouver, Detroit, and obviously the news out of Seattle now with a major change to their management team coming. Like, I like that first week outside of the regular season is really starting to feel like the NFL's when they want
Monday or what are they, something like that.
That's correct.
Yeah.
When they want to make changes, man. And this is the way it should be. Honestly, if you're gonna make changes,
pull the Band-Aid off.
Pull it. At least have the respect that if you're gonna do it, you don't do it at a week before the draft, or like times of essence here for even some of the guys that may want to look for another job.
Yeah,
as simple as that.
It was actually even weird. Like, I don't know if you heard Dubas today talking about Sullivan, but like didn't quite confirm he was going to be back, but said, we'll wait till I have that talk with him and make sure that he wants to be back, or something to that.
He spoke.
Everything's great.
Right?
Sullivan did?
No.
Dubas did.
Dubas spoke.
Yeah.
And did he not give him a vote of confidence today?
He gave him, like, if he wants to be around, we want him around, sort of thing. Yeah.
So what he's really saying is, buddy, if you don't think we can win right now, you want to get the heck out of here, I'll drive you to the airport.
Right. I do love this headline on Sportsnet.ca about Kyle Dubas. Penguins Dubas won't put timeline on return to contention, but believes worse is over.
By the way, if I'm ever a GM, that's the first thing I'm establishing.
Exactly right. Like I'm not.
No plans for when we're going to be good.
we're thinking about it here.
Within 2-3 years, we should have a roadmap for contending.
How's Sid liking that?
Yeah, I'm sure
comment?
he's thrilled. Sure, he's thrilled.
No timeline? I'm on a timeline. How about that?
So this would be his last year of this deal, right?
What's my timeline on my flight to Denver?
Yeah, that'll be fascinating.
Would he sign a 2-year deal?
I thought last year it was a 2-year deal for 8-7.
Yeah, kicks in that following season.
So he's got this year plus next year.
No, I think it's.
Or is it this past year plus next
2 more?
Year?
No,
he's a 3-year deal.
No, he's finishing out his contract that he was on before, and he's got 2 more at 8-7 after this season.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. There you go.
2 more
All
years.
right.
So
there you go. Got it figured out.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys want to talk about the playoffs that are happening?
Yes.
Jets talk.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
You want to do it?
Well, the Rutherford thing's fascinating.
Okay.
Where do you want to go? Should we talk about
Jimmy Rutherford and his general manager Patrick Alvin met the media.
Yeah.
And hot button topic, Quinn Hughes.
Yes.
And his future.
Yeah.
We're setting up Luke here, so we shouldn't get too deep into
So we'll
it.
hang on to that.
Are we going
to? We're setting him up here, so we don't want to get too
we're
deep.
only 20 seconds away from lucky Luke, who will join us and help us tee up the LA Kings, who are hosting
3 Canadian teams.
Edmonton Oilers tonight.
What a couch night tonight,
Oh,
fellas.
the
I'm just
hockey
reading
tonight.
off
Good
on,
Lord.
on Sportsnet tonight. We have Montreal opening their series against the Caps, Oilers and Kings, St. Louis and the Jets game 2 tonight, plus a couple other games. Jays getting a series underway in Houston. Couch is taking a beating tonight, boys.
All right.
A guy that never disappoints our show anytime we can get him on.
He's our best guest.
He is by far our best guest ever. Is he on? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Am I laying it on a little thick?
I feel like I've been wasting time for the last 3-4 minutes listening to you guys. Did you say you want to be a GM? Is that what I heard?
Yes. Keep me in mind, my friend. Luc Robitaille, Hall of Famer. 1,431 games. Luke, as a player, we always loved this time of year. But how does it feel as a president of a hockey club? Same butterflies by chance?
It's the same. It's the same as being a player, Kippy. It's exciting. I think the biggest difference, I think we all realize how hard it is to get in. I mean, it's only 16 teams out of 32. I remember the old original 21, 16 out of 21 would make it. And, but we all know how special it is, and it's a privilege to be in. So you want to make sure every opportunity you have, you do the best you can.
Luke, we've been talking about the Leafs in our first hour, and we've been talking about, okay, what's different about them in playoffs this year? And we don't necessarily know, but, we throw darts at the wall. You'll know better than us about the Kings. What feels different as you head into this Oilers matchup for a 4th time?
Some of our young guys have grown up, they're already a year older. And I think for us, obviously, coming in and being healthy, it's the first year, everybody's talking about different teams' injuries. One year, a couple of years ago, we missed Doughty. And then another year, we missed Fiala for a few games, and we had a bunch of guys banged up going into the playoffs. So coming in, knock on wood, you want to stay healthy. It does make a big difference. I think the league is so close. Every team is so close right now that when you're missing one guy or 2, it can make a difference, especially over a 7-game series. Maybe not one game, a couple guys can win a game or 2, but to win 4 games out of 7, if you have everyone healthy, it does make a difference.
The multiple tries against Edmonton, I'm going to just come out and flat out ask you, Luke, is this the best chance yet for the LA Kings to beat the Edmonton Oilers?
Well, it's the best team we've had in the last 3 years. I mean, what Blakey's done, people forget. I mean, 2 years of rebuild and then right away flip it and start making the playoffs. And then you always talk about you got to get playoff experience. Our young guys have gotten playoff experience over the last few years. And, it's the best record the Kings ever had, except from 74, 75. I had 105 points, same this year. So we're excited about our team. We're excited about the way we play as a unit of 20 guys. It seemed like our top 3 lines going over. You can roll them over. Everybody can create chances. Good, responsible defensively. So from that standpoint, that's what it's exciting about our team.
I was looking at your team and trying to figure out maybe an angle that people miss about why you guys are so consistently good. This Gavrikov, a lot of the numbers, defending the blue line, defending in general, that ended up being a really great signing by you guys.
Yeah, he's been really good for us. We're really happy with him, and just when no one was talking about him as much last year or the year prior because probably Drew's around, and Drew's the one taking all the minutes. But he's one of those players that's involved in every play, and he's been good all year. When Drew was hurt, we ended up playing him on the right side, and he was tremendous. So. Don't talk about him too much because he's a free agent. So
Sorry.
Keep it quiet.
Keep that between us.
No, we really like him, and we're going to do whatever it takes to sign him.
We know what the middle of the ice means this time of year, Luke, and you got Kopi, you got Byfield, you got Philip Deneau. Yet we know on the other side there's McDavid and Draisaitl. How do you respect what those guys can do, but not get fixated that's all there is there? And, how much attention is too much attention? There's still a team over there. Where's the balance in stopping the Edmonton Oilers?
I mean, we saw it last year. These guys are really good. I mean, we saw like what these guys did in the finals. They were down 3-0, and suddenly Connor said, I want to win. And it was like for 3 games. It was absolutely incredible. It is about team, though. Like to win 4 games out of 7, you got to play really hard as a team. And they got a good team. I mean, Adam Henrik is still a really good centerman, and they can score goals. And we know they've added a few guys this year. So we respect them. That being said, we know those guys are the 2 best players in the world. So you're going to have to find a way to contain them sometime.
Luke, what changes? Just a hook and hold. What changes going into the postseason? You're a guy who's had a lot of success there and a lot of experience, but how does the mindset different particularly for the elite guys who play a lot of minutes?
I think the best teams, and Kippy would know that because I think it happened in New York, is when every player understands their roles and is going into the game and is willing to accept whatever it takes for the greater good of the cause. So if a guy's going to play 4 minutes, but those 4 minutes, he'll block a shot, throw a big hit. That's in the summer or after when you end up winning the cup. That's why you see the team, they'll be hugging a guy because some guys sometimes will play 3 games out of the whole playoffs, and everybody on the team in that small group understands what that guy did to help them win the cup. And when you have a team and an organization, everyone understands that. That's when you're ahead, and it really gives you a chance to win the ultimate prize.
You're watching and listening to Luc Robitaille, Hockey Hall of Famer, president of the LA Kings, as we get set. The Edmonton Oilers and the LA Kings right here on Sportsnet, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 Pacific. Luke.
By the way, I forgot one thing, Kippy. I say that because Kippy didn't play a lot of minutes when they won in 94, okay? But he understood his role. But there's one thing. If you go look at the Rangers book, though, you would think he played 30 minutes a game. He's on every damn picture.
Buddy. Hey.
He's more there than you see Leach and Messi.
And me.
Kippy's there on every damn picture.
He knew who to be boys with.
Treat every game like it's your last, buddy.
That's right.
Hey, speaking of guys unexpectedly, maybe contributing at some point, how about Kuzmenko and that subtle trade? Here's a guy that, 3 teams in like a very short period of time, and he's quietly come in and helped you guys a lot, and even a right-handed shot on a power play. What's he been to you guys since the trade?
I think that trade, you got to give credit to our scouts first. They really saw something in him. They understood. And I remember listening to those meetings. Obviously, everybody puts data and and a lot of analytics behind decisions now. And we did all of it, and it matched. And we clearly knew we needed a right-handed guy, someone that understands the game, that can read it. That's hard to do, to find a guy that can really read the game and read it well. And I give credits to our guys that they came up with him. There were a few other guys that were on the table. Unfortunately, they weren't available. And we're very fortunate to get him. And then you got to give the kid credit. I mean, he's playing with Kopi. He's very responsible both ways. He's made some tremendous plays, and he's really helped and changed our team, especially on the power play, too.
And speaking of changing your team, another guy you added this year, Darcy Kyper, having a guy, he's probably going to be on Vezina ballots at some point. Did you anticipate getting close to this level of goaltending out of him?
He's been really good. I mean, you never know the guy's going to be top 2 or top 3 in the league. That would be a lie saying that unless you have Hellebuck. Everybody else you're just starting the year and you think a goalie's going to be a certain level. We knew what to expect of him. Like Billy Ranford and his group, they knew they had dealt with Darcy before. And the way we play, we thought he would fit the way we play. Now, he's played way above that, but he's been really, really good all year. And, you always say about a goalie, Ken Holland used to say, make sure the goalie doesn't lose the game for you. And he's done that. And on top of it, he makes 2 or 3 or sometimes even 4 saves that you're not supposed to or you don't expect to. So he's been great all year.
Hey, so Luke, I know when you played, you'd probably be at the rink right now. So as an executive, what do you do between now and puck drop?
Well, today I'm talking to a few of you guys.
Thank you.
But a lot of time we'll have some meetings downtown, with some partners and so forth. Being the first game, we're seeing a lot of people. To be honest, one of the greatest thing about being on the West Coast is like the Montreal game will start at 4.
Right.
So I'll make sure I'm at the rink in a quiet room and watch that game. So that's one of the perks, I think, of being on the West Coast. You see the East Coast game at 4 p.m. and I love that part. So we'll usually go try and catch a game or sometime 2, like the start of a second one. So that'll be my schedule starting at 4.
So I take it your dream finals, you and the Montreal Canadiens, Stanley Cup final.
It doesn't
Let's do it all over again.
It could be Toronto too. It doesn't matter. It could be
just be there.
Awesome stuff. Wish you the best of luck, Luke. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Luke.
Great to see you.
You too. Appreciate it.
That is Lucky Luke. God, that laugh just makes me laugh.
Luke had 160 playoff games played. Is that not wild? His whole page of numbers is baffling. There's so many of the numbers.
And he just got a pin at the draft.
A lot of crooked ones
they had left for him.
Oh, my God. 1,431 games, almost 700 goals, almost 1,400 points, 160 playoff games.
We're out of hats and jerseys, but here's a pin.
We don't need to get too deep into this, but, a guy that scores 191 points in 63 games in his last year in junior and wins the championship, 44 points in 15 playoff games, goes in the 9th round.
By the way, he had 50 points in 20 playoff games.
Yeah.
50 and 20. Is that what you said?
Yeah, he was 44 and 15.
He
was the second.
He was already drafted by then, right? It's after his first junior year that you're claimed. What was his first numbers?
I mean, he was
in the first year?
85 and 70, 148 and 64, and 191 and 63.
And you know what they always said after every year? That's good, but he can't skate.
It's like, how is he doing this? By magic?
Yeah. Anyways.
Exactly.
Okay. The Edmonton Oilers have their hands full, Kip. That is a tough matchup down the gut. Kopitar, would you say, Deneau, and Byfield?
Yeah, and Byfield.
Big,
that's the center.
Strong, defensive-minded.
Essentially.
Yeah, the best 2 centers in hockey.
And what do? You keep Draisaitl and McDavid together? You split them up? Where would you start them?
I think they've had them split almost all year long, at least try to, open up some matchups somewhere. But when the other team has 2 centers like that, it does get harder. Hyman, McDavid, Connor Brown, Podkolzin, Draisaitl, Arvidsson.
You guys want to talk about Vancouver?
Yes, for our Vancouver audience. Interesting media day for the Vancouver Canucks, where
Rutherford rules.
Quinn Hughes was an interesting topic. Now, do you have sound of that?
Yes, we do.
He's been producing.
I got that. Don't look at the jersey.
I can't look at the jersey.
It's fine. It's fine.
fine.
Take our big Sportsnet budget and go buy some jerseys for us, Kyper. I mean, you probably have such an extensive collection that you're like, I forgot today. I forgot. Just bring them in.
Can you just call me and remind me?
I will. I'll call you tomorrow at around whatever time you come in here. 3:55.
Like Uncle
I'll call
Billy
you.
And It's a Wonderful Life. He's just got strings tied around all his fingers. What was this one for?
Derek, do you want to play the clip about Quinn Hughes? Oh, we have video. Perfect. Let's play it.
The one thing that we will be sure of, that we will have enough cap space to offer him the kind of contract that he deserves. That's the one thing we can prepare for. And it may not boil down to money with him. You know, he said before he wants to play with his brothers. And that would be partly out of our control, in our control, if we brought his brothers here. So there's many moving parts here. Agree 100%. This franchise cannot afford to lose a guy like Quinn Hughes. And we will do everything we can to keep him here. But at the end of the day, it'll be his decision.
We missed it. We missed the best
be
part.
careful with tampering here. So we'll just leave it at that. I probably crossed the line anyways.
I got to tell you, I'm in massive minority. I don't think it's tampering.
What?
Yeah, massive minority.
Are you nuts? Are you?
Everything he said was
seriously?
factual. Everything he said was factual.
But you cannot state facts talking about other players on contracts to other teams. You can't.
No, but his facts were that Quinn wants to play with his brothers at some point. That's out of our control. The only way it would be within our control is if we brought those guys here.
You cannot
and that's
talk
true.
about
That's the only way it would be within his control. He didn't say he was gonna.
You cannot.
Or he wanted
you
to.
cannot specifically wish another player on another team to your team.
He didn't. He just said that's the way it would be if they were to hypothetically do it. Would be within their control.
I'm sure that's how Tom Fitzgerald feels about it.
You cannot hypothetically call out contracted players on other teams to your club.
Don't even mention them.
Don't fit. You must acquit.
God, Cochran over here.
I do like the take, but it's 100%
If
tampering.
I'm New Jersey, I'm going ballistic. I am.
Don't talk about our guys.
Don't talk about
I would
our
like
guys.
to clarify. I'm with you.
Do
Absolutely.
not. I don't need you planting that seed. Okay?
Was planted.
I don't know. I mean, listen, Jimmy's Jimmy, and I think that more people should be as open and honest, but not to the point where you're speculating, bringing players in to appease one of your players who's under contract on another hockey club. We're talking about specifics.
Yeah, and he didn't speculate that he was going to. He just told you how it would be in their control if they were to do it, hypothetically.
And how many more years does Quinn Hughes have on his contract? Is it?
Oh, several for sure. Oh, wait.
Yeah, is it
One.
two? Is it
No, it's-
one? Is it two after this year or one after this year?
So
This one and one
if
more.
you're one of the brothers, right? If you're Jack or Luke, right?
Mm-hmm.
You now know publicly that's the closest you'll ever get to an invitation to another hockey club.
I would say
Okay.
the scarier part of that is not New Jersey, but it's Vancouver because it's easier to move one guy than two, and one guy's contract expires in 27.
There's definitely, like, Vancouver listeners, please plug your ears. There's definitely way more of a chance that Quinn Hughes plays for the Devils than Jack Hughes plays for the Canucks.
They're also American.
Just put that out there.
I don't know how everything was framed around those comments, but I think from what I gathered, maybe I'm wrong, that Jimmy Rutherford chose to go down the brothers' path. He didn't talk. He didn't get asked about the potential of the brothers all playing together. I don't know why he would volunteer that information. Like, why go there?
It's like, we want to do it. Just laying it out for you what the situation is.
If you didn't get asked about the brothers, why bring them up?
Maybe he said to Aquilini, "Hey, you got an extra $100,000 for me to plant this seed? Let me put it out there. Like maybe they knew. Why not? Plant the seed. You're going to get fined, whatever.
No.
Worthwhile cost if you pull that off.
I'm telling you, what good does that do your Vancouver market? What does that do for your season ticket holders except put in a panic? And he talked about how devastating it would be, and yet he painted a picture of how it potentially could be bad. Because the brothers wanted to be together, and people can connect the dots. They're no different than what you just said. They're like, it's easier if he just goes to New Jersey instead of the two guys coming over.
Yep.
Maybe he wants people to lean on Quinn to say he's going to stay. You know?
Yeah. What's the fine going to be?
Is there no limits on those?
I don't know. I don't think it's like you can make a number up. I think tampering's like in the six figures.
For tampering?
I think it's just a big one.
I think he just flirted with tampering.
Okay. Game time?
All right.
It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app, latest odds, and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. So we checked in on the Stanley Cup odds before our show ended on Friday, and it's very funny to see how the books react to first games of the playoffs. But Colorado, I forget what range they were in, but they weren't 5-1 before.
Right.
But they are now, after their convincing 5-1 win against the Dallas Stars. We'll talk a little bit more about it with John-Michael Liles after the break. But they are now 5-1. They are now the Stanley Cup favorites. And then it goes to Carolina, who is plus 650, Vegas plus 750, and the Toronto Maple Leafs at plus 750. So they've moved up.
Carolina got a big bump, huh?
Yeah. And as you would imagine, the Stars went down and the Sens went all the way down to plus 5,000. But it's just funny to see how they react off of one game. Go ahead.
The thing that I feel stupid about is I picked New Jersey based on having a healthy decor, which they haven't had. Siegenthaler doesn't play game one. Not good. Brendan Dillon, hurt game one. Luke Hughes, hurt game one. So
I'm with you. I picked New Jersey because I don't like Carolina's goalies.
Yeah. Anyway.
That's it.
But Carolina, Jersey can't be missing Siegenthaler, Dillon, and Hughes and win.
No.
So.
And Freddie could play in a rocking chair with 20 shots on goal a game.
For sure.
And on the ice tonight, 4 games, like I mentioned before, Habs in Washington to take on the Capitals. They are plus 160 underdogs. In game one, as you would imagine, Capitals are minus 190. The Winnipeg Jets, who are hosting the Blues for game 2, are minus 200. Stars underdogs on home ice at plus 125 against the Colorado Avalanche. And the one that we just talked to Lucky Luke about, the LA Kings are minus 130 favorites in their home in the opening game, game 1 against the Oilers, plus 110 for the Oilers.
Oilers are the toughest team to predict right now.
Can't say I hate that number at plus 110
for the Oilers.
Me
either. Like that's the thing; they're so tough to predict. Like they defend hard and get a few saves. McDavid tries. It's not hard to see him winning.
Absolutely not.
But it's also not hard to see the opposite.
That was game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, we'll take a quick break because we got another guest coming up.
Yes, we do.
We do. John-Michael Liles does Avalanche color work for Altitude TV. We'll get his thoughts on the Avs looking to take a commanding 2-0 lead over a Dallas Stars team that's just
reeling.
Oh, my God.
Not sure if you heard or not, but Landeskog might play tonight, too.
He is off IR.
Wow.
Okay. John-Michael, when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne.
Welcome back to Real Kyper and Bourne. My man Kip. I'm just getting a drink of water. Ready to rock and roll. We're now joined by John-Michael Liles, former Av, Maple Leaf, Hurricane, Bruin, Avalanche, color analyst on Altitude TV. John, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining us.
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for having me, guys.
This is wonderful. We're loving it. This is a big night tonight. The Avs have the chance to really put their foot on the throat of the Dallas Stars. Did you have any sense pre-series they could be in this kind of spot?
Well, listen, I think when you look at Dallas and the lack of Heiskanen and the Robertson injury, that definitely plays into it. And, it's something that the Avs have dealt with in years past in terms of, Val Nichushkin not being for a good portion of the series last year with Dallas and some of the injuries they've dealt with. And so I don't know that I necessarily saw a 5-1 victory. I think the game the other night was a lot closer, as Pete DeBoer said, than 5-1. Dallas definitely had chances, but overall, I think the Avs, they played a strong road game for the most part. And, they got some puck luck and they were able to capitalize on some of the opportunities that they did get.
John, I don't know if you caught earlier today, Dylan Larkin talking about in general what a disappointment maybe the trade deadline was for the Detroit Red Wings, how they could have used a shot in the arm. And on the other hand, we watched Colorado very aggressive.
There's a lot of shots.
Just talk about the before and after that it would have had and the effect in that room.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think Colorado, you said it. I mean, it's a lot of shots that they got in the arm in terms of what they did from the beginning of the year up to the trade deadline. So you look at they completely changed out their goaltending position, getting 2 new goaltenders. When you look at Wedgwood and then Blackwood, you do the trade. You get Ryan Lindgren. You do the Brantanen trade, obviously, which is a huge trade. You get Natchez back and Jack Drury, who's been really, really good, fourth line center. And then at the deadline, you had Brock Nelson and Charlie Coyle, and essentially they revamped their 2, 3, 4 centers. And that was something I think that they looked at and knew they needed to address, potentially going into the season. But I think early in the season, especially, the big things that they were looking at were goaltending and center depth. And they really haven't had that center depth since Nazem Kadri left after the 2022 Stanley Cup. And so just looking at what Chris McFarland, Joe Sakic, and their staff did, we did it, we went through it the other night on the broadcast in terms of we went opening night roster, and not even opening night roster, but early November roster versus game 1 roster. And it's a completely different lineup. It's deeper, it's bigger. I would argue there's more skill, and the other thing is the goaltending position has really been solidified. Mackenzie Blackwood played fantastic in game 1. He was terrific coming over from San Jose, and then Wedgwood has provided a really steady backup presence and an awesome guy in the room. So you look at that, and I think top to bottom, you talk about a shot in the arm. They've done it over and over again this year, and it's really paid off.
We did our little betting segment before, and by the numbers, they are now the Cup favorite. Things have really turned after a Game 1 win, which I think is probably shocking. But then we're not even talking about I don't call it an elephant in the room because everyone's looking at the elephant. Gabe Landeskog is cleared to play. Are we too excited about this? Is he going to be involved? How should we feel about that possibility?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the news. I think probably the only people that know what's going to happen or how that's going to play out are Gabe Landeskog and the guys in that room and the guys within that staff. I haven't heard anything, but the fact that I believe they said he was activated earlier today. All the technicalities or whatever. I mean, it's fantastic news, and I think it just speaks to Gabe Landeskog as a person. Gabe Landeskog and his willingness to essentially not throw in the towel. I mean, he's almost 3 years removed from playing his last game in the NHL. Now he's got 2 games in the AHL recently, but the fact that he is at this point after having essentially experimental surgery on his knee to try and continue his career is nothing short of amazing. Now, I don't know what that looks like in terms of, does he play tonight? Does he play in game 3? Is it, I don't know, but just the fact that we're at this point and we're talking about it, I think is pretty spectacular.
John, is there a chance that it's just too much too soon? And you mentioned the 3 years and just 2 games. Is there a chance that it could come back and maybe look like it was a little rushed?
I don't know. Listen, I think, yes, he's played 2 games. What I would say is I think there was game 1 on that Friday night in Loveland with the Eagles, and I think there was a determination of it was very up in the air if he was going to play back-to-back. And the fact that he played back-to-back, to me, is an excellent sign. Now, what we've seen within the media, and I think around the team, not necessarily within the team, but around the team, I think we've only seen the tip of the iceberg of what Gabe Landeskog has been doing. Now, the documentary's out there, and it's detailed a lot of the things that he has been doing. But I know for a fact that he's been skating at times where people don't see it. So I think, what we see is we see him skate, maybe 2 days a week. But if I had to guess, I would say he's probably skating 5 days a week, kind of behind the scenes leading up. So I don't know if I can say that it's too much too soon. I think everything at this point is just a kind of, all right, let's take another step and see how it goes. And right now, the fact that he has been activated off IR is another positive step in the right direction.
Yeah. Hey, how has Jared Bednar managed to keep, I want to say he's like the third longest tenured coach. How does he keep that message effective? Is it a lot of like McKinnon drives the message from in the room so he doesn't have to talk as much?
Well, listen, I think that Jared Bednar has the utmost respect from his players. You go back to his first year with the Avs, it was a 48-point season. And that, you're literally starting from rock bottom. And the fact that, and once again, I think the deck was stacked against him. Sorry, I've got a puppy in the background that's whining. The deck was stacked against him. He came in, a couple weeks into the month of August. So he essentially had 4 weeks to prepare for training camp. And the fact that, they went from that 48-point season, they continued to get better and climb each and every year, culminating in a Stanley Cup in 2022. I think that, Bedsy is, from everything that I understand within the locker room and the guys that I know on that team, he's a tremendous players coach. When you listen to him at the podium, he's very well thought out with every answer that he gives. He's very cerebral, and I would say that he has the respect of his players because I think that there's a give and take. He listens, and if something needs to be said that needs to drive home a point, he'll do that. But I think within that room, you've got some tremendous leadership. Gabe Landeskog, although he hasn't played in 3 years, is an amazing captain. You've got that secondary leadership when it comes to Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar and guys like Devon Toews, and now you bring back a guy like Eric Johnson, who was a leader in that room for so long. He played in Colorado so long that I played with him before I got traded to Toronto in 2011. So it just goes to show you, what Eric has been through with that team and that organization, the ups and the downs. And now you bring him back for hopefully another run. Yes, he's different than he was a few years ago, but he still provides, I think, that leadership in the room and kind of that secondary leadership that I think is so important throughout, especially with Landy not having necessarily been there day in, day out for the last few years.
One more quick one for me, John, and that is the Dallas Stars. Like, the moment we heard Rantanen going to Dallas, everybody talked about this first round. Like, this was going to be the most amazing first round between these two clubs. And lo and behold, Dallas loses the last 7 games in a row, and then they lose the first game 5-1. Like, your surprise level on what's going on in Dallas and what game 1 looked like and what we thought was coming may not be coming.
Well, listen, Dallas won 7 in a row before they lost their last 7. So, it's tough to say. They're a really, really good team. Jake Ottinger's a tremendous goaltender. I just go back to the Heiskanen injury.
Yeah.
Teams can survive for a while without a player like Miro Heiskanen, but when it really comes down to it, I'm writing down my notes for our broadcast tonight, and Thomas Harley played over 27 minutes the other night, and they called a timeout on one of their power plays in the third period right before they scored because they didn't have another power play guy, Pete DeBoer said. Like, Harley was playing 2 minutes out of every power play for them. And now Colorado does that with Makar and McKinnon a lot of times. They'll play 1:50 a lot of times. But, Thomas Harley was averaging 23 minutes a game during the regular season. Now all of a sudden he's almost 28. in game one. That Heiskanen injury to me is just a huge blow to the Dallas Stars. And seeing them last year, working the games last year in round 2, and how good he is. We go back to that draft, and it's Heiskanen, Cale Makar 3 and 4. Miro Heiskanen, when you look at the numbers, it's a lot different, but he's not the same type of player as Cale Makar. He's such a good skater. He breaks the puck out so effectively. He's so smart. And when you lose a guy like that, it makes a huge difference, especially come playoff time. So I'm not going to say I'm surprised at it. I just think that it's really hard when you have that kind of go-to guy on the back end, and you're missing him for a series where you really need him.
What kind of puppy is it?
He's a German Shepherd. He's 14 months old, and he's whining at me for some reason, even though I walked him an hour ago. So,
buddy, we got you on a Zoom call, and I'm watching you. I'm looking at you. You got the great hair going. You got the crispy white shirt going. Like, instead of dealing with a whiny dog, man, you should be getting ready for game 2.
Well, I'm going to the studio. My wife and kids are in Florida on spring break, and I got to work. So I'm in charge of the dog, and so there's a lot of moving parts.
Hey,
busy family man.
Retiring sucks this time of year.
Yeah, there you go. Yes, it does.
Enjoy game 2. Thanks for joining us, John.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All
right, that was fun. John-Michael Liles. Boys, what is going on in Dallas? Seriously.
It sucks that they're not at full strength. Like losing Robertson last game of the last game of the year they lost him for week to week. No Heiskanen. It just you wish they were full strength.
I'll tell you, turning point. Vancouver Canucks blow a 3-goal lead.
Oh yeah.
And it's been downhill ever since.
Was that the game before they lost 7 in a row?
They had lost 2.
Okay.
They had lost 2 before that, but then you win then you beat Vancouver at 5-2, and you're good.
They were in the race for the President's Trophy a sec.
They blew 3 goals in under a minute, and they have not recovered.
No, that's ugly. A lot gone wrong. We mentioned the injuries that they've had. Also, Rantanen's had the year from hell. It's really hard to put a lot of pressure on this guy and say, you're supposed to pull this Dallas team through, because I'm sure he feels that. But it's give the guy a chance to get his bearings somewhere.
Yeah, he may not remotely look like the player that he is until next season.
Right. That's totally how I feel about it.
I think your point's bang on here.
And I don't think
this guy's been shell-shocked.
Colorado Rantanen.
He's been shell-shocked.
Yeah.
He was pretty good. He had 18 points in 20 games for them down since he got traded there after the deadline.
He's a 110-point player.
But being traded twice, I don't know. It's just
a big ask for him to be the guy he's been now.
Tough. Yeah, and
Colorado might just mop him.
Yeah, and Carolina immediately got smoking hot the second they traded Rantanen away.
Stankov's just shooting it.
I know. He's such a Carolina Hurricane. He just looks like all the guys out there just flying around. They all could if they didn't wear different numbers, you wouldn't be able to tell them apart. Such a all their outside of Brent Burns and Jordan Stahl on that team, every player just looks so similar to me.
As a reminder, this hour, Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. The Canadians. Come on, guys. We got to mention the Montreal Canadiens tonight.
Big night.
The Washington Capitals.
1st to 4 for the Habs. Great for them.
Oh, come on.
Listen, I'm not. Speaking of kind of limping in a little bit, like Washington's finish to the season, and I get it.
Getting worse.
They were locked in. Maybe whatever. They lost a little of their focus, but all the Canadians have to do is just split somehow, some way, and this will be a series.
It's not easy to play hockey that doesn't matter, then flip the switch when you get the second wild card team and say, here comes our best. I don't know that Washington's going to bring their best. I mean, the Canadians are excited.
Yeah, but I watched
Yvonne.
Unfortunately, I watched the last 3 games of their season extremely closely. I watched the Habs game against the Leafs, where they stunk out loud. They lose to the Blackhawks, and then they barely beat Carolina's B team. This team is listen, great story. Good for them to make the playoffs. This is a big, strong, veteran team full of guys who have played a million playoff games. They are going to lean on the Habs. The Habs could win one, but I got a lot of people in my life. I think the Habs are going to upset them. I
don't have an
see
upset,
it.
but I do have.
They could win one, maybe.
I see Montreal having a little success.
I do think that the momentum thing they got going right now, they're very excited about. But yeah, at some point.
Do you think people are waiting potentially for Washington to fall off, not get to a conference final, and then blame Ovi's chase at all? Do you see that as a card to play?
We'll do it.
No,
I won't do it.
No.
I
don't think I will do it.
I'll do it. Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
I don't think so. I don't think that's what's going on here. I
didn't get the sense that it just sucked completely the energy or the life out of
he
him.
got it done early and quick, and it didn't go to the end. I have been a Capitals doubter along the way this season. At some point I had to admit, okay, they're better than I thought they were. I think they're much better than Montreal, but I don't think they're winning a Stanley Cup this
Thompson
year.
healthy?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing.
I do think that they have a much easier path to the final than the Atlantic side of it. Like if they play the Habs, and then Carolina is a good team, but they've played them a million times. They know that matchup. That's a familiar matchup. They only have to beat one Atlantic team to
And then
potentially
they
go to
just
the
got to
final.
mop the Leafs, and off they go.
Yeah.
I mean, sorry, Florida.
I think their path is easy. I could see them making it to the conference finals for sure. The Caps, they
just need their goaltending to lock it down. And
all right, 4 games.
Jets talk.
Give me some scores here, boys. What do you like on the Jets?
Well,
Go 2-0.
I thought, I think, was it you that said it in our group chat that it was scary for the Blues because they really gave them a good punch, and it felt like the Hellebuck ghosts were there, and they felt like they're really going to win that game. And then the Jets kind of just Jets are really good.
Yeah,
they're a really good team.
Scheifele's really good too.
The Scheifele to Connor play.
Oh
Kyle
my
Connor is
God.
as dangerous as anyone in the NHL in the offensive zone, and him finding that little seam and blowing that home, that was an unbelievable play.
That set play was sexy.
Yeah, I will
Around
say,
the net, back across.
Yeah,
It was
the
really nice.
elite offensive players in game ones. Nice showings all around. What did McKinnon have? 2-1.
Yeah.
Scheifele 1-2. Marner 1-2. Like a lot of the top guys. It ends up being these guys, which is why I go into this LA Edmonton game going really tough for me to predict not McDavid.
If you're, like I said when we talked about in game time, you may not get the Oilers as an underdog again tonight, after tonight. So
plus 110.
It's, you know what I mean? It's just feels like they win 3-1. McDavid and Draisaitl are excellent, and Skinner makes a couple saves. It feels like they're automatically the favorite again.
Right.
Okay, 3-1 Oilers. That's what you're telling me.
I am.
Okay. Washington and Montreal.
4-1 Washington.
4-1.
Same score last night as Leafs sent 6-2 Caps.
Oh, I don't know if they'll get 6.
Yeah, they will.
I got them by a couple of goals,
Yep.
though. Washington. Jets in St. Louis, 2-0 or 1-1 after tonight?
2-0.
Overtime win for the Jets.
Love it.
3-2.
2-zip series.
Robert Thomas is turning into a player.
Hey, that's actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Watching that game and, later in the year, it's like him and Nick Suzuki have both taken a step to being like, they're probably Team Canada guys.
Robert Thomas, definitely, with the Doug Armstrong
It sounds like
connection.
Naz Kadri's going to the Worlds.
Love, is he?
Good for him.
For no other reason is that he wants to also be on that Olympic team.
I love that.
Think about Thomas. Think about all the decent names now that could easily be in the running for a role, a spot on the Olympic team.
Yep.
It's so hard. It's so easy to put guys on and hard to take guys off. Konechny, Jarvis, Bennett was so good for him. Stone, Marchand. Yeah, there's spots. There's spots.
Yeah, there are. And it.
By the way, the Americans are going to be so much better.
Definitely.
Paige Thompson, great year. Cole Caulfield, way better.
Quinn Hughes didn't play.
Yeah.
It's gonna be a bad.
All right. I'm exhausted. That was
That was an awesome show, boys.
Fast.
If I
It's
say
an
so
awesome
myself.
night on Sportsnet.
But what do I tell you?
Yeah.
It's the fastest 2 hours in hockey.
Let's
Real
go,
Kipper
Couch.
and Bourne
Go,
show,
Couch.
baby.
Go. Go, Couch. Go.
I'm in.
Going to be some divorced guys by the end of the season.
My wife loves not spending time with me. I'm fine.
Enjoy your games. We're back tomorrow on the Real Kipper and Bourne show.